Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. Jeff, I don't think you need a mask in there. You're okay. We're live now, by the way, Jeff. Excuse me if I didn't tell you that. And hey, thank you so much for joining us today. If you were expecting to see Robert Martinez when you came on today, Robert wasn't able to make it today. So Jeff Gibby, such as he is, decided to fill in. Lucky for you, it turns out Jeff Gibby's like our most veteran and experienced and awesome presenter. So it's a little bit of an upgrade. How you doing this morning, Jeff? Jeff, why can't I hear you?
I am doing great because I had to turn on this microphone button.
Oh, okay. So Jeff Gibby, I think most of you, if you ever come to our channel, know Jeff, but in case you haven't, he's been with MetaStock for about 18 years. He's the director of our sales team, and as well as, what, did I get the years wrong?
Yeah, well, you missed it by a few. It's like 23 or 24 now.
Whatever.
We're working on 30, so.
Well, this is probably a good time to point out that MetaStock's average tenures, the last time we checked was like 13 or 14 years. So I've been here 15, and I'm still just a pup, a young pup. Anyway, Jeff's, anything else that I missed that I should say about yourself? Do you have any good school jokes before we start?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of that one that we had just the other day.
I remember it.
Oh, why don't you tell it to us?
Why was the computer so hard after his trip? So tired after his trip?
He had a hard drive.
Yeah, that's what it was. Okay, Jeff, I'm going to get out of your way. I didn't do the disclosure, so make sure you do that and break a leg.
All right, sounds good. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming. I hope you're doing well today. Surprise, we get to do a webinar, and that's fine. It's I love being here in the studio. I hope you guys are using MetaStock already. If not, or even if you are, my goal is to kind of walk through a lot of the power tools, show you how they work, and kind of talk to you a little bit about why it's been such a highly rated software. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to ask Greg in the other room to mute his microphone. And the second thing I'm going to do is actually read this legal disclaimer for you. So today's demonstration is designed to instruct you on using MetaStock and the accompanying software plugins. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell, but rather guidelines to interpreting and using specific indicators and features within the software. The information, software, and techniques presented today should only be used by investors who are aware of the risk inherent in trading. MetaStock shall have no liability for any investment decisions based on the use of the software, any trading strategies, or any information provided in connection with the company. So that being said, I want to say hello to Alec in GoToWebinar and David in YouTube. And if you're here, we do have quite a number of people watching. Say hi. It does help us, particularly if you're in YouTube. We appreciate it if you like the video, you comment, you subscribe. That all really helps our YouTube algorithm quite a bit. The other thing I want to say while I'm actually on the legal screen is I really don't have stocks that I'm going to be kind of in mind that I'm going to be showing to you today. So if you have stocks that you want to see, go ahead and kind of type them in and I'll look at them. And I'm not going to be kind of cherry picking examples, and there's no way that I'm going to recommend that you buy a stock for legal reasons and just because we're going to be looking at your stocks. So if it sounds like I'm recommending a stock, or if I say things like, oh, I like the look of that one, just remember it's not a recommendation to buy. I'm not really, I'm very, very prepared based on the fact that I've done thousands of demos and I like to kind of do it on the fly and show you kind of how the software works because it's very easy to use software, but I'm not recommending you actually purchase anything we look at today. So I'll give you a little history on me real quick. Greg did almost get it right. I have worked here for about 23 years. When I started in inside sales. It was like 1994. So maybe it's a little bit longer than that. But when I started, we had been known by Reuters. That turned into Thomson Reuters. Then it turned into Refinitiv. We've owned the company. The company was bought back in 2013. So that's going on a while now too. I started in inside sales though. And when I started, I didn't know anything about trading. Didn't know. I knew from like a school study that we had done what like a stock was, but that was about it. I worked in sales for the better part of a decade. That was a lot of fun. We talked to people about what they wanted to do, what their trading goals were, and we talk about MetaStock and kind of how it could kind of fit into that. I love that. It was a great job. For about the next 10 years, I worked with like a lot of our education partners. So that was great too. I've had the opportunity and the privilege to work with like Sean Bollinger and Alexander Elder and, all that kind of stuff. And I still do a good part of that. A good chunk of that is my current role. I'm also, right now, my official title is like Director of Sales. And that means I'm in charge of our sales team in addition to all the other stuff I was doing before. So, but I will say this about MetaStock. It's a great company to work for. I very much enjoy working here. Everybody works hard, but we're all friends. So it's a very, very cool thing to work on. I hope you've had a chance to read through this slide because I'm not going to talk about it too much, but we are a company. One of the things that I do like to kind of brag about and boast about, because we're proud of this, but for 27 years straight, MetaStock's been rated #1 in its price category by the readers of Stocks and Commodities magazine. So every year they say, hey, what's your favorite software? Traders can kind of write in, and 27 years in a row, we've actually had the honor of being the best software in our price category. And my goal today is actually to kind of give you an idea of why that is, how it can help you in our trading, or not in our trading. We're not going to trade together, but in your trading. But then also going to kind of give you enough inspiration to try it. We're at the end of the webinar, I'm going to show you how to get like an extended trial, so where you can try it out for 3 months and see if it's helpful for your trading or not. So that's my goal today. It is a fairly small audience, so if you have questions, I'm going to keep an eye on both the YouTube chat over here and the GoToWebinar chat over here. If you have questions as you go, type them in. I'll be happy to kind of I'll do my best to answer them, and I'll do my best also not to totally just miss your question as well. So. Everybody. Okay. All right. Very cool. Let's go ahead and go into and just kind of show you the program. So the Dow is down a little bit today, in case you haven't followed the market. I'm just basically going to show you how to look at some stocks and how to do some different things. So when you as a customer open MetaStock for the first time, you're going to be presented with like this power console. So and I'm going to kind of walk through kind of like what we call the power tools in MetaStock and kind of how they work. And we're just going to start with charting. I'm definitely going to do some charting. We might kind of talk a little bit about the quote center today. We'll definitely talk about scanning. It's one of my favorite features in MetaStock. And the ability to go in and find stocks that have an opportunity today out of the thousands of stocks that exist is awesome. We're going to definitely talk about System Tester. If we have time, which we probably won't, we'll talk about the Forecaster and Option Scope. But I really want to focus on kind of the tools that are going to be beneficial for you right out of the box. They're all awesome tools. But I think if you're new to trading, the ones that you're going to use most are charting, testing, and scanning. And so hopefully we'll get through all three of those. If we have a little bit of time, I'll show the Forecaster and some of the other tools as well. We'll probably show the quote center as well, just because it's a natural part of the demonstration as well. No questions yet? Okay. So let's start with charting. Well, charting is obviously like a technical analysis must. You have to have good charting. We do have good charting, and you want to be able to look at the indicators you're interested in and that kind of stuff. So on the charting console, there's a couple of different ways you can get to charts. We do have an instrument list that's rather kind of massive, really. And the reason it's massive, right here, you can see that with a click of a few mouse clicks, I could open up one of 288,777 stocks. We do get all of our data from Refinitiv. If you're not familiar with Refinitiv, Refinitiv was bought the, how do I put this? They bought the news and information service from Thomson Reuters, and they renamed it all from Thomson Reuters to Refinitiv. Okay, it's also a institutional quality news and data service. They sell a lot of data. the big part of their business is selling data to like mutual funds and hedge funds. And because we used to be owned by them, and because we have a really good relationship from them, we have actually the ability to pull data no matter where you're at today. If you're in London and you want to get London data, you can get it from our data feed. If you're in India, if you want to get currencies, if you want to get Forex, it doesn't matter. We have 288,777 different symbols, and they cover around 300 exchanges. So regardless of what you want to trade, we're going to be able to provide the data for you. And that's been very, very beneficial for us, because we do have, and we have been able to grow the company hugely, or bigly, I don't know, in India, in Australia. These are in London. These are huge markets for us, and having the data obviously helps quite a bit. So we do also have it fairly well organized. I actually really like the way that they've put together the organization of these lists, which is very, very helpful, especially when we start talking about scanning and that kind of stuff. But you'll notice everything's broken out by region. Here we've got Asia, we've got Europe, we've got North and South America, futures, indices, index constituents. Everything's well organized. There's even a section for Forex if you look at the very bottom there. If I drill into any of these sections, like I can go into North America, and I'm going to primarily focus on North America today, but if you go into North America, you'll notice that we have a list of all of the ETFs, all of the optionable stocks, all of the Canadian ETFs. And so you can kind of see those. And that's really helpful, especially as we go to scan a little bit later. If we want to be able to pull up an ETF, we can do that, right? Or if we want to scan all the optionable stocks, we can do that. And we don't really have to put a lot of work into it because it's already done for us. So these lists are dynamically updated like once a month, and they keep them current for you. And that just means that you don't have to worry about all that data maintenance. It's done for you. It's all available for you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. One of the other things I like to look at is kind of this index constituents. We mentioned earlier that the Dow was down a little bit today. If I wanted to kind of see what was hurting the Dow, for example, and I wanted to kind of look at like the 32 or so stocks that are in the Dow, I can come down here to index constituents, and I do have a list of the 30 Dow constituents. I could start with Apple, and I could arrow through all of the stocks one at a time and kind of look at them. And we'll just go ahead, and if I wanted to actually open up Apple right here, I could click on Apple. But the other thing I want to show you while we're talking about opening up charts is a lot of times when you go in to open up charts, you'll have a pretty good idea of what you want to look at already, right? You might say, hey, I just saw AMC was going through the roof today. Want to look at the chart. Or I heard GameStop is kind of going crazy right now. Want to look at the chart. And so if you have an idea of the stock that you want to follow already, you can totally disregard this list here. You can just type an instrument or a symbol up here where it says instrument. I'm going to go quiet for a minute because I've got a cough, but don't worry, it's not the Rona. That felt better. Okay, so if I wanted to find a stock, or if I knew what the symbol is, maybe I wanted to open up Apple, I can just click into this instrument dialog box. I can type in the symbol I'm interested in, and I can just hit enter. I can actually open up a couple of stocks here too, if I wanted to, just by putting a space between the symbols. So we'll go ahead and look at Apple. I can actually, if I'm not sure of the symbol, maybe I just saw that GameStop was through the roof today and I wanted to pull that up. I can actually search for this symbol. I can just click on this instrument search dialog box. What I'm going to do is I'm going to search by name right here, and I can do contain, start with, or end with, and let's just say we wanted to do GameStop. So I'm going to say GameStop. I can see now that the symbol is GME. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK, and that's going to add it to there for me. So, and you can actually open up as many as you want from here just by putting a space between the symbols. Okay. I probably won't drill into kind of these options too much. I'm just going to load the default amount of records. I'm going to load a daily chart. You can change that to kind of obviously any time increment that you want. And right now, the concept of templates is just a collection of indicators that you've got to a chart. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get the charts open. But if I have a template that I want to apply here, I can just click on the apply template. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up what we call a clean chart, which is actually just no indicators at all. So I'm going to come in here. We'll go down to clean chart. I'm going to go ahead and open up Apple and GameStop. So here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and close my Dow chart. Okay. And now I've got both of those charts open. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and cascade those. GameStop is now trading at 312. What a ridiculous looking chart. I was just kind of curious to look at that. We'll go ahead and look at Apple for the most part right here to kind of add some indicators and that kind of stuff too. So let me just kind of look at my notes here. I do have a little bit of a guide. I want to make sure I don't forget anything. But right now what we're going to talk about is how to work with charts. One of the things that we've done with MetaStock is we've tried to make it work and function like a Windows product. And so we've kind of organized it in such a way that it's click and pick and drag and drop and double click. And so anytime you want to add something to MetaStock, we have tried to make it intuitive as possible. I remember even in the early days, back when I started, I call them the early days now because it's going on 30 years, but I remember that Alan would always talk about kind of making the interface as invisible as possible. What he wanted you to be able to do is he wanted you to be able to kind of make the adjustments or the changes to the chart that you wanted to make without having to put a lot of thought into it. So anytime you want to make a change that exists on a chart, it's going to be a drag and drop or a click and pick operation. And the first thing I'm going to show you is we're going to go ahead and zoom in on the chart here a little bit. So I'm just going to click on this zoom in button right here on this, just so we can get a little bit of a closer look. If I want to change anything that exists on the chart, I can double click on it. Now, the only thing that exists right now on this chart is this price activity. And right now what we're looking at is a bar chart. If I want to change that in MetaStock, all you have to remember is to double click. So if I double click here, I can go in and we can see some different charting styles. I've got bars, candlesticks, candle volume. Let's go ahead and throw this in a candlestick chart. I'll leave it the normal coloration, but that easily I can kind of change it to kind of the view that I'm interested in doing. If I wanted to change it to Kagi or Renko or point and figure, there's about 8 or 9 different charting styles in here I can use. I just double click and I choose what I want. That easily I'm able to make a change. Michael says, hi, Jeff and team from New Zealand. If don't have MetaStock, do yourself a favor and try. Oh, if you don't have MetaStock, do yourself a favor and try it. The team is tops, goes out of its way to make an easy pathway and any other problems that you may encounter. Michael, thanks for using MetaStock and thanks for saying that. I appreciate it. So, okay. All right. And now I'm just going to kind of walk through some of the different things that you can do with the chart. Over here, we're going to just kind of start over here. We're going to talk about adding indicators and line studies and all that kind of stuff. So a lot of people that are analysts like to look at trend lines. All of your drawing tools are going to be nestled over here in either this top bar or in this rotating toolbar. So we'll start with just a trend line. If I want to draw a trend line on a chart, I click and pick it, and then I just draw it on the chart exactly where I want it to be. Very, very easy, very intuitive, exactly what you expect it. If I get it to where I like it, I can go ahead and just drop it on the chart. It's that easy. If I want to change it, again, just double click on it. I double click on it right here. We can go ahead and make whatever color we want. We can change the style, the weight of it. We click OK. Again, it's easy. We don't want you to be focused on how do I draw a trend line. We want to be focused on whether or not you think Apple's a good buy, or if you want what you want to do with your position of Apple or whatever. We want to keep the interface out of the way and allow you to focus on what you're doing. Okay, I'm going to delete this. To delete it, I'm just going to select it on the chart. You go ahead and click delete. That's all. Okay, down below, so over here we've got the trend line, we've got horizontal line, we've got vertical line. Down here we have a rotating toolbar. We call it a rotating toolbar because it rotates, I guess. And this will kind of house a lot of the drawing tools that you might be interested in, and there's a ton of them. Like we've got Fibonacci's in here, you've got the progressions, you've got regression lines and auto envelopes and all kinds of stuff. You've got pitchfork, Andrew's pitchfork, anything that you want, triangles, symbols, text, anything that you want to be able to do to annotate your chart is going to be on there. And we're not going to spend a lot of time. I just want you to understand that the tools are there. The other thing that I like about all of the drawing tools in MetaStock is they're animated. So for example, if I wanted to draw a Fibonacci retracement, maybe from this low right here to this high right here, you'll notice that as I'm drawing the line, I can see exactly where it's going to go. I can, before I actually plot it, actually I'm going to go to this high because this high is a bit higher. And so if I think that we're going to bounce back down to a retracement level, maybe I would know that this is my 23.6% level. And that would be a 23.6% retracement from this low to this high. Okay, so very, very easy to draw the drawing tools. We've got projections, we've got a ton of them. Okay, you'll notice it was fully animated. And as I said before, if you want to make any changes to that, it applies. Like, so for example, if I double click on this chart, I can actually change the colors, I can change the retracement levels. Again, it's the same operation for everything. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and cancel. And that's pretty much what I wanted to show you when it comes to drawing tools. They're just over here. You can use whichever ones that you want. Okay. The next thing I want to kind of talk a little bit about on this chart and kind of manipulating the chart is adding indicators. All technicians are going to want to be able to use indicators. Right here, this is what we call our indicator quick list. So if I click on this little down arrow, I can show you all of the hundreds and hundreds of indicators that are in MetaStock. And you see there's just tons of them. I think there's a couple hundred. I don't have an exact count memorized, so I'm not going to kind of give that out. But there are a ton of them. And these also work in the same way. So if it's an indicator I've used recently, you'll notice that we've added a feature, and I love this. This is one of my favorite things in MetaStock. They added it a few versions ago, but all of the indicators that are most recently used are actually stored up here. So I don't have to dig through the list if I just want to put volume on the chart. Since I normally show people how to add volume, it's one of my most recently used indicators, and I can just pick it right there. Okay. Now this is a drag and drop operation. So I grab this volume, okay, and then I drop it where I want it to show up on the chart. So right here, if I drop volume here, it's going to show up in this same window. And you can do that if that's a preference that you have. I prefer my volume to be in its own window when I'm working with MetaStock charts. And to do that, I'll just drop it right here. Okay. And if you look really closely, you may not be able to see this, maybe you can, but there's a little window that shows up when I point it right at the date. And that just means when I drop it on the date, it's going to open up a new window for me like that. Okay. And you see it opened up a new inner window for me. I'm going to go ahead and make it a black volume line. I'm going to go ahead and make it a histogram. I'm going to go ahead and click on OK. And that easily, I was able to put volume on the chart. Okay. If I want to do a moving average of volume, I like to look at moving average for volume so I can see if we're above or below our moving averages, et cetera, et cetera. I can actually apply that to a chart, and I can apply it to the actual volume. So if I come down here and I drag this moving average out of the inner window to volume, all of a sudden I now can put, and I don't really put a lot of thought into what I want to look at. A 26 simple is fine. I'll actually just do a 30 because it's more of a round number. I'll click OK. And I'm going to merge this with the scale on the right. But now I can see, okay, well, so far today on Apple, we haven't had a lot of volume. We're early in the day, but I can see if I'm getting a pattern that I like, I can see if it's supported by volume, if it's close to its average volume or above its average volume, or if it's not supported by volume, just because that line's on there. I'm going to make it a bit thicker. And again, I just double click on there. It's so easy to manipulate this thing. Double click on it. We'll go ahead and make it just a little bit fatter here. Okay. And there we go. Okay. Same thing here. If I wanted to add a moving average price, we can go ahead and do that as well. We'll do a 26 period exponential here. Okay. We'll do a, let's do a 12 period exponential as well. So 12, I'm going to actually make that a different color, and I'm going to make it a little thicker. So I think you get the idea here. I feel like maybe I'm dragging this out a little bit more than it should be, but it's easy to manipulate the charts. It's easy to kind of get around in the charts, and it's easy to make them look the way that you want. I'm going to add a quick MACD here. And I'm not going to make this into a MACD class, but let's go ahead and add a MACD in here. We'll go ahead and click on OK. What I want to show you, though, I want to show you kind of the expert advisor functionality. real quick, and then we're going to migrate into system testing. So what I'm going to do right here is this little guy in the bolo hat. It used to be a top hat, and we decided bolos were maybe the more appropriate gear for experts, I guess. But this is called our Expert Advisor tool. Now I'm going to go ahead and click on that. And I just really, really want to show you a couple experts that are built into MetaStock. And the one I'm going to start with is going to be the Candlestick Expert Advisor. Okay. Now, I want to make a point. There's about 40, 45 of experts that are built in here. And each of them are kind of geared towards doing different things. So if I was to scroll through the list, you see this is candlesticks. There's a bunch of act systems, which are work based on John Eller's work. If I scroll down, there's going to be one about Bollinger Bands. There's going to be one about Haguro method. There's going to be one that looks at MACD as well. Okay, and depending on which expert I attach, different things are going to happen to the chart. So the easiest way for me to kind of illustrate that for you is to just show you. I'm going to go ahead and attach this candlestick experts to the chart. And what it is going to do is for any of the, let's say, about 30 or so different single day patterns, it's going to annotate them on the chart for me. It's going to show exactly where they happened. And so just by attaching that candlestick expert, I can see, oops, let me zoom in a little bit here. I can see that right here, a few days ago, right before this upward move, there was a rising window. Right here, there was a falling window. Right here, there was a hammer. You had a dark cloud here, rising window, and you kind of get the idea. Any of the patterns that it identifies, whether it's like an engulfing bull or rising or maybe a doji or a doji star, are going to be automatically labeled on the chart for you. And what's more, it's going to show you if it's a bullish or bearish signal by putting an arrow right there. And what's more than that, if I wanted to kind of learn more about why this was a rising window, we have a function in there that we call the Expert Advisor. And I'm just going to go ahead and open up the window right now. So we're going to go ahead and click on View, Expert Commentary. I'm going to dock this over to a side, which not that way though. I'm going to go ahead and kind of dock this over to the side, which is kind of, we have an issue with this one. Let me try a different one. Let me see if it's actually part of this one. It looks like that. Looks like that particular expert is kind of broken. I'm going to try it again because, you know, insanity is, there we go. It worked the second time. So that's cool. Okay. Let me go ahead and dock this to the side now. Okay. And let me just kind of talk a little bit about what this commentary window is doing. You're going to notice when I pointed out, there's a little bit of a triangle right here. And then if I look at this, it says a review of Apple for 127, which is today. So wherever this arrow points, it's going to be basically what bar it's talking about. Okay. So right here, we didn't see a pattern today. There's no pattern identified yet, but it's going to say a black body occurred. Okay. This is because prices closed lower than they opened. Okay. During the past 10 bars, there have been 5 white candles and 5 black candles. So that's pretty neutral. And during the past 50 bars, there have been 25 white candles and 25 black candles. So 3 black candles occurred in the last 3 days. Okay, so it's seeing this black, this black, this black. These are 3 black candles in a row. Although these candles were not big enough to create 3 black crows, the steady downward pattern is bearish. Okay, so it's looking at, so I was saying, okay, you had 3 down days in a row. That's pretty bearish, right? And I would kind of combine that with like the fact that we are up at a high level right now. So maybe we're going to come down here and test. You know, we're not kind of going to really going to get into detail, but it's kind of helping us understand what the candlestick pattern is doing. Okay, if I wanted to move this arrow over, I could do it. I could move it to right here, and it's going to talk about this rising window. It was a big white candle. This is generally considered bullish as prices closed higher than they opened. If the candle appears when prices are low, it may be the first sign of a bottom. If it occurs when prices are rebounding off of a support area, the long white candle adds credibility to the support, etc. And it just kind of goes through a definition. You'll notice it does that candle count. It's going to tell us what this rising window means too. So a rising window occurred where the top of the previous shadow is below the bottom of the current shadow. It's telling us what that means. And this usually implies the continuation of a bullish trend. Okay, there have been 4 rising candles in the last 50 candles. This makes the current rising window even more bullish. Okay, 3 white candles occurred, except I think you get the point. I can stop reading out loud. But like, the idea here is if you didn't know anything about candlesticks, it's going to help you understand what's going on in the chart. It's going to identify the single day patterns for you and tell you what they mean and help you kind of with your education around the market. And there's many of these systems. I'm going to show you one more. I'm going to go with a little bit more brevity on this one just because I'm looking at the time. And I want to talk more about some of the built-in tools in MetaStock, but I want to show you just one more here. And so the one I'm going to show you is the Equus MACD. Or I'm sorry, the MACD by MetaStock. We renamed a bunch of them, a bunch of the systems just because so people could find them easier really was the biggest thing. And Equus was a name of the company like back in the 80s. So we decided that MACD by MetaStock would be better than Equus MACD. It's easier to find on the list, mostly. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. And again, now instead of looking at those candlestick patterns, it's going to tell us about the MACD. So there's a couple things I'll point out real quickly. I'm not going to go through a full MACD class in terms of kind of like how MACD is calculated and stuff like that. If you're familiar with MACD, though, you'll know that when the MACD crosses above its moving average or its signal line, that it goes from a bullish to a bearish phase. So I'm just going to make a minor adjustment to this MACD line, make it a little bit more similar to what you're used to looking at. Okay, and we'll go ahead and go here. Okay. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to do. So you got the MACD level here. You've got the signal line, which is just I think it's a 9-period exponential moving average of the MACD here. And when you go up above your signal line, as happened right here, that's a MACD bullish signal or a MACD buy signal. And you'll see we annotate that in the chart, both by giving a symbol right here and by giving a bullish bearish ribbon here at the bottom. You see right here it crossed down below its signal line, okay, right here. And we annotated that on the chart as well. We said, hey, this is a MACD sell signal. Here it's bearish. You could go back to where it crossed back above. Okay, and here it's a bullish signal. So we're annotating that on the chart for you, as well as giving you kind of the bullish or bearish indications. Okay, and over here in the commentary window, it's going to kind of keep you informed about 3 different parameters. If I'm looking at right now, the MACD is currently bullish since it's trading above its signal line. The MACD crossed above its signal line 3 periods ago. Since the MACD crossed above the moving average, the price has increased 2.85% and ranged from here to here. Okay, it'll also look for the MACD to be oversold or overbought. It's not right now, but you can see right here with the red highlights, it's actually indicating something. So if I move the commentary back here, it's showing that the MACD is in an overbought range. In other words, it's extended a lot. That could mean that a pullback is coming, a reversion to the mean, if you will. And so the commentary for that is the MACD is in an overbought range. Prices can continue to move higher for some time, but it is overbought right now. So wait for prices to move lower before considering trading on that. And then it'll also look for divergence. Divergence is a very, very powerful tool in MACD. In fact, a person that I have great respect for, a guy by the name of Dr. Alexander Elder, calls MACD divergence the most powerful signal in all of technical analysis. This expert will actually look for that divergence for you. So in this particular case, with this particular expert, you're going to be looking at those crossover signals, the MACD crossing above its signal line and below signal line. You're going to be looking for overbought, oversold. You're going to be looking for that divergence. And what a good tool, I think. You know, I'm a little biased. I've worked for this company forever, but what a good tool to help you understand what's going on in the marketplace, right? If you don't know anything about MACD, this is going to help you break it down and understand what's going on a day-by-day basis on a chart. Looking for questions? I don't have questions, so we're going to keep going. That's one of the things I love about MetaStock is it is a big, massive toolbox. When I started, I talked a little bit about how I started in inside sales. And one of kind of the traps I would fall into a lot with people is just talking about the tools. You know, we talked about 8 different line studies. We talked about the 40 or so different methods that are available in MetaStock. We talked about the 200 different indicators that are available in MetaStock. This isn't like this isn't Paint, right? Like this isn't a Microsoft Paint. This is more like a Photoshop for investing. And it's a product that we've been building since the 80s, right? But one of the questions that we would get a lot from traders is, well, like, I don't really want to learn 200 different indicators. I don't really necessarily care to learn about 40 or 50 different systems. How do I understand what works well? Okay, I'm happy to learn about indicators that work well, but if we just spent 40 minutes learning about the MACD or the candlesticks, and it's not something that even is effective for Apple or, you know, whatever stocks that we're interested in trading, why do we care? And the nice thing about technical analysis, in my opinion, is everything's very objective. So I can tell you that we're getting a buy signal because we're crossing above the MACD. You know, I can tell you how it's calculated. I can tell you that this is why we're getting the buy and sell signal. And you can understand very, very easily why you're getting a buy signal. It's not subjective. You know, we're not looking at, like, you know, if there's going to be a comfortable swearing in. We're not looking at if the election is going to be contested. We're not looking at whether or not there's going to be more stimulus coming. We're not looking at those things and trying to make guesses. We're looking at what the price is doing, and based on, you know, the price activity, we're determining, you know, what we should be doing based on the price, and that makes it much more objective than trying to make guesses or decisions, if that makes sense. Since it is objective, I can also kind of take a look at this chart and say, okay, well, if I would have taken this buy signal, I probably would have got that buy signal, but I would have acted on it at the open here. The open was at 143. Right now we're at 143. We haven't made any money on this trade yet, okay? We can do the same thing here for this sell signal. We would have bought probably the next day at the open at 127. We actually would have lost money by the time we got out of that trade, okay? Here we would have bought. This would have made us money. We could figure that out. It's objective. As long as you kind of understand what the rules are, you can see on a chart, and you can kind of look at the trades on the chart, and you can see if it works or not, okay? But in the age of, you know, technology, why not just have this computer go through and figure out where the opens and exits are and tell me if it's effective? And because it can do that, we call that system testing. Because it can do that, it can also tell us if the MACD is effective, if it's more effective or less effective than, you know, maybe the turtle trading system, whatever it might be, it can kind of give us that number. So what I'm going to do here, run a test. So I'm going to go open up that Power Console. We're going to skip a couple power tools right now. We're going to skip the quote center. We're definitely going to come back to the exploration. But the idea here is what I want to be able to do is say, okay, maybe you're interested in trading optional stocks. Maybe you're interested in trading S&P stocks. Maybe you're interested in currencies. Take these mechanical trading methodologies that are built around like MACD or Bollinger Bands or moving averages, or in some of the 200 built-in indicators for MetaStock, take them and tell me how well they would have performed in the past, okay? So what I've done, and with MetaStock, you can create all your own system tests, etc. You can buy more system tests, but what I've done is I've gone through and I've made a list of all of the 54 systems that are in MetaStock that don't use variable optimization. So that way I can come in here and I can run a test. I can say all of these systems are systems that are built in as soon as you get MetaStock, and they're systems that you can test right out of the box. So since I've put them all in this favorites list, there's about 54 of them. I'm going to go ahead and just select all 54 of them. I'll put a check mark right here, and we're going to test adaptive momentum. We're going to test the Mama-Fama system. We're going to test the Darvis box, the CCI, and you can just kind of see a list of these. I'm going to stop reading off names because it's getting a little old for me, but I can test all of those systems right away. Okay, and I can test all of these 54 systems against Apple if I wanted to, I could even do like the whole S&P 100. Like there's a list of the S&P 100 here that I could select. I could do all of the optional stocks if I wanted to. I could do the whole New York Stock Exchange. You can do whatever you want to. There's not really a limit built in. We're a little bit more time limited. So I'm only going to do a couple of stocks to kind of just give you an idea of how it works. But I will tell you, based on experience, it doesn't take it takes about 45 minutes to test all of the optional stocks. It's not a test that takes a long time. It's a cup of coffee and a break later. Okay. But for now, I'm just going to do a couple of them. I'll do Apple. I'll do Microsoft, I guess. Tesla's a stock that I'm going to put in here. I think that's TS. Let me look at the symbol real quick, and I can do the same thing we wanted to before. Just look at TSLA. I just got, okay, symbol. Just want to make sure I get the right extension, Tesla. Okay. And I think that's good. Yeah, we'll go with that. Okay. I'm going to take all the long trades that any of these systems match out. I'm going to take all the short trades, so I'm going to do both long and short trades. Okay. And I'm going to test for about 500 daily bars. So this is on daily, so I'm testing daily bars. 500, there's roughly about 250 trading days, maybe 252 in a year. So this is going to go back about 2 years. Okay. With the Refinitiv data that we use, you could go back on US stocks to at least the 80s. With futures, they have data that goes, US futures, they have data that goes back to the 70s. And internationally, they also have a lot of history. So you can pretty much test, like you could go back as far as you, well, I would say as far as you wanted to. You can go back pretty far. Because if I say as far as you want to and you go back to the 70s on a stock, that probably won't work. But you can go back really far to run these simulations and these tests. I'm only going to do, again, for the purpose of time, 500 days or about 2 years. Okay. I could actually say I want exactly 2 years and just identify some times. Some people like to do walk forward testing where they maybe test to 6 months ago and then walk forward from there. And you can do that. Just change these types right here. But for now, we're just going to do the last 2 years. Okay. I'm going to go into trade options. Okay. And I'll just kind of walk you through this a little bit in terms of the account. We're going to start with $10,000. Okay. I can actually say every time you get a signal, take 50 shares, buy 50 shares, and see how well that works. I could do based on a transaction cost. I could say buy $500 worth. With Tesla, that would get you half a share. But you could do that. You might want to do a little bit larger of a number if you're testing Tesla. That's the other thing I can do is I could say, well, trade based on a % of available equity. And I like doing this test because it allows you to compound your gains. But basically, if I'm testing 50% of my available account, that means if I take a trading position in Tesla, it's going to take a $5,000 position when it tests. And if we grow up our account to 20,000, it'll be doing half of whatever our available equity. So we'd have, I've been, let's see. Do you offer complete trading systems? Yes, okay. Meta is asking, do you offer complete trading systems within the package as a standard feature, or are they available as add-ons with an additional fee? All of the ones I've showed you today, Meta, thank you for the question, are built in. So all of these come included, and you can make your own as well. Yeah, and these are not indicators. These are actual systems. Some of them are comprised of an indicator or two. Some of them are more complete systems. But the idea is a lot of them are very, very well-rounded systems. So that's a good question, Meta. Meet. I guess it's Meet, not Meta. But thank you for that. Okay. Let's test it. I should have tested it and then checked for questions. So let's go ahead and test this. Okay. Oh, broker. We're not paying any points to get in or out because stock trades got free in the last several years, and with a lot of brokers. I'm going to do realistic market prices. And what that means, if I get this buy signal, it's going to assume that the buy signal came in towards the end of the bar, or we waited until the end of the bar to confirm it. Since it can't get in on this bar, it would buy on the next open. Okay, which you can change that. You just take out the realistic. If you want to buy at the close, you can do that. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and click on OK. I'm going to run the system test Apple, Microsoft, Tesla against these 54 built-in systems. So it's going to run about 150 plus systems. So 162, and we'll just go ahead and let it get done real quick. Give me half a second here. It's really bugging me okay. Had a little bit of an itch that I had to scratch. I have no impulse control. So. Okay, so that fast it was able to run 162 simulations, and I can kind of give you an idea of what those look like right here. Okay, you bet, Meet. Thank you for the question. Right here, what we've got is we've got about 54 bars. There's 54 trading systems. We tested those on 3 stocks apiece, so we've got about 54 either green or red bars, or very squat or neutral bars. Okay, so. What I'm going to do is you'll notice that all of these are kind of average net profit. Green bars are obviously going to be profitable systems that worked well. Red bars are going to be not profitable systems that didn't work well. I'm going to sort them based on the average net profit. Okay, and so on those stocks, if I wanted to kind of get an idea of what worked well over the last 2 years, these are just going to give me the average numbers. So, for example, our best performing system over the last 2 years, over that basket of stocks, was 224% on average. Okay, the best performing profit was 6,000. The worst performing stock was 2,000. Okay, on average, over a 2-year time period, it traded 1 time, which is actually not much at all. Okay, and its average trade profit versus his average loss was $1 to 7 cents. So it's actually pretty profitable. We're not getting a lot of trades off of this system, which actually might make it a good candidate for if we wanted to be able to kind of just find really, really good trades. Okay. Our next best performing system was the PS Fractal Trading system. Okay. On average, it traded about 9 times per stock tested. Okay. It made about 165% profit, with the range being best 38, 35. You kind of get the idea. $6.7 gains to $3 losses. Average profit loss 1080 to 1, basically. Okay, so we get some really good average numbers here. Our next performing system was Mama, and we can kind of get a feel for it. And the way I'd kind of talk about this is finding the right strategy for you. So, for example, one trade may not be active enough for you. Maybe you want to be a little bit more active in your trading. I would take the best performing system in this. I always prefer working less if it means more money, right? But our best second performing system was Fractal Trading system, and it was only 9. If we look here, this exponential moving average traded 200 times. That's way too often for me. Personally, I just don't want to spend that much time trading. So it would be a system, even if it was more profitable than our Stochastic Oscillator, I'd kick it out anyway. Okay, so I can click on any of these results though. So we're going to go ahead and look at the Stochastic Oscillator system. It was our best performing system, even though I didn't trade that much. I can go ahead and click on View, and you can see how well it worked on Apple, Microsoft, and Tesla. And obviously, it performed very, very well on Tesla. So if I sort that based on net profit, Tesla's obviously going to come to the top. Just taking the Stochastic Oscillator cells, we would have had a profit of 608% on one trade, with one of those trades being winners and 0 of them being losers. I'm going to go off on a little bit of a tangent here. I wouldn't trade this just on itself. In my opinion, one trade is not enough. So I would want to have more data. And so you could either test a longer period of time. Obviously, this is not a very active system. And even in its most active, it had 3 trades on Apple, but that's over a 2-year time frame, right? That's 1 trade every 6 months. So I'd want to test a lot more data. I'd want to do a huge basket test on this one, but that's kind of beyond the point. It's just a little bit of a tangent. I'm going to go ahead and show you what the report looks like on Tesla and how you'd learn more about this. So we'll go ahead and click on View here. I can see what the performance is if I just bought and held, and I can compare that to the trade performance. Okay, so on one trade, we had a performance of 608. Well, actually, if we would have bought for 2 whole years and held Tesla, we'd be up 643. It's not a bad ratio considering we only traded one time, right? But we did underperform buy and hold by about 5.52%. That's this number here. We do have a profit loss index that goes from 100 to minus 100. 100's the best. This never closed a losing trade, so it's 100. And the number is kind of bunkus because you want to have some losers in there. But this will give you a good idea of how well its profit to loss ratio is. In the case that you had a loser, you have your risk reward index. You have all kinds of information. Looking at the time, I'm not going to go into this report much more than this. If you click on help, we do have a really good help file. It'll talk about how indicators are calculated. It'll talk about kind of the different things. And if I click on help in this report, it'll actually tell you like what all of these numbers mean. Okay, I'm going to go over to the equity line here, and I can see where we would have bought that one position. It looks like we're still holding on to that position. And this is what our equity line would have looked like. Okay, I'm actually going to back out and compare that real quick, just because I do not like the fact that it only traded once. I'm going to actually go to the one that traded a little bit more frequently, and we'll look at the Fractal Trading system. It also performed best on Tesla. Okay, and then I'm going to look at the equity curve there. Okay, I still like this one. I'd like the one before. I like this one a little bit more. I like the fact that there's some more numbers to look at. There's winners and losers to look at. And so kind of give you an idea of how I at least approach looking at systems and how they've worked in the past. Okay, if I decide, and I like the PS Fractal system, then I can learn about what it's in there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just plot this on the chart. Okay, when I do that, it'll open up the chart of Apple for me. You've got it right here. It'll show me, you can see visually where the buy and sells would have come in through the system test. You've got one right here. You've got an exit right here. You've got a buy here. You've got a buy here. You got a buy here. So it's going to show me that. And I can kind of take a look and, hey, do I still like it? I still like it. Okay. So now I want to learn about why I'm trading. Okay. And I would recommend that you use system testing as a way to help you figure out what you should be learning about and not skip your learning process altogether. I think for discipline purposes, it's good to understand why you're making a trade. But now I want to learn about the PS Fractal Trading System number 2, because that's where I'm getting the buy and sell signals. So I'm going to go back to that expert advisor in the bolo hat. I'm going to find that what it was called PS Fractal System number 2. I'm going to attach that to this system. I'll go ahead and click on attach. I can go ahead and click on close. And it's going to tell me, well, there's no signals today. Our last one was right here. It's a great one. Okay. But while there are no, I'm going to just make this bigger for you. I'll probably read just a little bit of it. Well, there are many definitions for fractal in the securities trading. The definition used is a minor version of the ones defined by Bill Williams and his chaos-based trading methods. According to Bill, an up fractal is this. It's a middle bar with 2 lower highs on each side. So it just basically, you have your high and it's surrounded by 2 lower highs. Okay, so that's an up fractal. A down fractal would be the opposite, and it's going to say that. A down fractal would be the reverse, where it's a low surrounded by 2 higher lows. That's a down fractal. Some people, I call those pivots, but they're the same thing. Up fractal, down fractal, pivots, whatever terminology you want to put. You're just looking at an inflection point where you have a higher high surrounded by 2 lower highs, or a lower low surrounded by 2 higher lows. I even got that all right with the first try. So this system is based on a small fraction of Bill Williams trading. The system enters a long position when a price crosses up above the recent fractal. The position would be exited upon the crossing of the low. So this is now, hopefully what we've got is a pretty good understanding of this method and how it works. You can go look up more Bill Williams stuff, maybe get his Profittunity course, which is really good. But you're going to have an idea of kind of why you're getting into the trade. And by focusing on what works first, we're focused on the indicators that we know work, and we're not wasting our time with the ones that didn't work as well. Okay, and it allows us to focus on our trades or focus our education to what actually works. I think it's a very, very powerful tool, especially for those of you that might be new to trading. So I think we're going to go over just by a few minutes today, but the last thing I want to talk to you about is scanning, because I do think it's a hugely, I need to get that word out of my vocabulary, but I do think it's a very important tool to help identify the trades that you might be interested in. Just to kind of make it personal for a minute, I like to look at optionable stocks. And so for me, if I'm looking for, let's say that you like this Bill Williams fractal system, you certainly wouldn't be buying Tesla today based on the fact that you had a signal way down here at 448 or whatever, it's right here. You wouldn't be buying today based on the fact that you got the signal down at 448. What we'd want to be able to do is find a fresh signal, right? And so if I really like that fractal trading system number 2 and I want to scour the market to find opportunities, well, I'm going to go back into the Power Console. I'm going to load into our Explorer program here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find that matching PS fractal number 2 scan. Okay, so let's go ahead and find it real quick on the list. It's all alphabetical. Okay, right here, PS Fractal Trading Signal System number 2. I'm gonna go ahead and start the. What we'll do. Actually, these are local lists that I keep just so that scans run really fast. But since I'm not sure when they're updated, we'll just run this real quick on a online data list. What I'm going to do to kind of make sure that it runs a little bit quicker, will not scan the whole optionable stocks. I'm going to come down to the index constituents, and we'll run a real quick scan on maybe like the S&P 500. So I've selected this particular fractal system number 2 against the S&P 500. We'll go ahead and start the exploration. It's going to go through all 500 of those S&P 500 stocks. You'll notice even though I'm pulling all of that data over the internet, it's actually running pretty fast. It's running pretty fast in spite of the fact that I'm broadcasting me and my screen and using a lot of bandwidth right now. It's still running fairly quickly. It's going to run even faster for you is the point I've got, unless you're webcasting and I don't know, streaming your trading with MetaStock.
Jeff, you get a few questions on YouTube you might want to approach while you're waiting for that to run.
We need a better way for you to break in on me. I jump out of my chair every time you do that, Mr. Lewis.
Well, I assure you that's not intentional, mostly. Let me know if I've missed any. The other question I see is I want to move my question forward another step. Does MS automate trading? We do not at the time. I appreciate that as a question. One of the things that we've been corely focused on is really helping you find the right trade at the right time. As such, we're fairly broker independent. You don't have to, if you want to get MetaStock, you want to use all of these power tools, you don't have to put a $10,000 account together and also pay a platform fee. There's a small platform fee that you can pay every month, but it does not do automated trading. Greg, did I miss any questions? I don't see any more. I think that was the main one. So yeah, I think that was it. You got a few comments, but as questions, that was it.
All right, so we've got out of the S&P 500, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stocks that I'm going to look at to kind of evaluate if I like any of them, I want to trade any of them. But I was able to go in and reject and not look at about 500 different stocks and only look at the 6 that actually have an opportunity. And I love that. The ability for me as a trader to focus on what has an opportunity and just ignore all the rest of the noise, one of the most powerful functions. If I wanted to, I could actually kind of open up these individually. I could save this as a list, or I could open them all up in our quote center, which is what I've been doing. Here I can kind of get them all open in a list. I can go ahead and kind of trim down this list if I want to. We could look at, so for example, Western Digital. We could see if we like it as an opportunity. If we don't want it on our list anymore, we can just delete it, and we can go to Oracle. And so it's very, very, it's something that they've added just this last version that makes it, I like that. I'm not recommending a buying stock. But if I find a stock that I'm interested in, I can kind of look at it here. If I find stocks that I'm not interested in or get them off the list, the ability to kind of have stocks that have like your portfolios in them and lists is something that they just recently added, and it's a very, very good tool. So I think that'll cut it off today. There are other, just to kind of go back into the list of things, and go ahead and kind of click on yes, close the window. Just a quick kind of review of things. We're not going to get into our patented forecaster today. We just don't have time to kind of do it justice. But we do have, it does have a very good statistical model in there. And we're not going to even talk about it because we had to pick what we talk about when we talk about the tools in MetaStock. Otherwise, we just go way too long. My point is this, but I think that's a pretty good covering of like the core tools to MetaStock and kind of how they work. Again, it's a software program that we've been working on since the 80s. It's been rated #1 for the last 27 years in a row. And let's talk a little bit about pricing and that special offer if you want to try it. So we have two different versions of MetaStock. We've got the MetaStock Real Time. We've got, that's what MetaStock RT means, is real time. We've got the MetaStock DC, which is our daily chart version of MetaStock. So the real time version does come with another program that we didn't even talk about today. That doesn't mean it's not important. It just was out of today's scope. But it's a program that Thomson Reuters developed and is now owned by Refinitiv, that they put over $1 billion into development. It's a product, if you're interested in like fundamentals, news, or good data, or any of those combinations, it's literally a product that's sold to mutual funds, hedge funds, and it's a very, very good news product. It's supported by 2,000 reporters in over 200 different news bureaus, and again, it offers data pretty much anywhere in the world. That's a product that we call Zenith. On the retail side, it's included with this price, and then MetaStock is also included in this price. It's just $250 per month. Okay. The other offering that we have is the MetaStock DC. MetaStock DC means daily charts. Everything I showed you today, as well as like the forecaster, can be done. The difference between DC and RT, daily charts and real time, is daily charts update at the end of the day and real time stream in throughout the day. The real time or the daily charts version of MetaStock is just $69 per month. That'll include data link data. It'll include MetaStock. So both of these packages include everything you need to start using MetaStock. In addition to that, the offer that we're going to do today is if you buy 1 month, we're going to let you try MetaStock for 3 months. So today, I have to look at it's my daughter's birthday today. It's January 27th. If you signed up today, February, March, April 27th would be your evaluation period. You could either do the $259 package or the $69 package, but you'd be able to try MetaStock for, if you did like let's say the DC version of MetaStock, you'd be able to try MetaStock for about $20 a month, just a little bit more than that. Okay, you'd be able to see and play with the testing. You'd be able to play with all of the built-in systems in MetaStock, and you'd be able to see for yourself why it's been rated #1 for 27 years in a row. In addition to that, if you decided it wasn't helpful, you can just cancel your subscription. That's it. But we don't want you to do that, but we do want to give you a low-risk offer. So we're going to let you try it for 3 months. We do realize it's a huge tool. So what we're going to do is we're going to have somebody actually make an appointment with you. That appointment, they're going to kind of give you a demo of the product. They're going to walk you through some of the more important tools of the program. They're also going to answer any questions you have and make sure you have everything installed properly. This is what we call our white glove installation support. We've been doing it, I don't want to say for like a couple of years now, and people love it because it is a really, what we found is if we can make it helpful for you, you're going to keep it. $60, $250, that's not that much to pay if you're getting really good trading decisions, right? So we're going to kind of open up our white glove installation support. Somebody's going to sit down with you. And that's not really the end of it. We do have more people in our support desk than we keep in our sales and our marketing teams put together that can that are here in Utah that'll answer your questions. You can call them, you can chat with them, you can email them, and they do a very, very good job. Every week we ask people that talk to our support team how they liked it. And it's not uncommon for us to go a whole week where everybody gave us 100% and to have 100% on our support readings. We're proud of kind of like our people. Greg said it a little bit earlier. We have people that have been here for like 15 years plus. I'm one of them. It's a great company to work for. But I also think in my very, very unbiased view that it's a great company to be a customer with, because if you have questions, you can call us, and they're very, very aggressive about making sure your questions are answered. Then you get the support that you deserve, and so you'll get that. We're also going to include a Unleash the Power of MetaStock DVD, or not a DVD. It's an online training course. It used to be a DVD, but people don't have those anymore. You can stream it online. It does come with an online workbook that you can go through as well. And it's just going to walk you through what we showed you today. It's going to show you the forecaster. It's going to show you some of our favorite built-in systems. It's normally a $99 value. But again, our goal here is to help you have the tools that you need to find better trades at better times. And if it'll do that for you, you should keep the program. So you can sign up, give us a call, 800-882-3040. You can chat online with any of our sales guys right now. They're all here, most all of them are here. We did have one guy out today. That's why I'm doing the webinar. But it's metastock.com/sales chat to answer any questions or maybe get more videos sent out to you, more information. They do a great job of that. And you can also go to metastock.com/P220. So with that, last check for questions. I don't have any more. So I want to thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give us a like, a comment, and a subscribe. It does help us quite a bit. And I do appreciate it. Actually, we were looking at our YouTube stats the other day, and out of all of our social media, it's the best performing one. So we do appreciate all that feedback, and it does help. So with that being said, hopefully I'll see you at our next webinar. Give us a call. If you haven't tried out MetaStock, try it out. Your risk is like, if you do the end of day version, $69. And you might be one of the customers that have been with us for decades, and a decade or two, and very happy. So 800-882-3040. I'll see you at the next webinar.